Did you know that there are zombies in the Bible? I'm guessing that you probably didn't know. You didn't realize it and didn't think about it. So we just finished doing a live on my YouTube and Facebook channels, which is named after this channel, Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. And we were comparing the differences between the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John versions of the resurrection. In that comparison, one of the things that we talked about was the fact that in the resurrection story, according to Matthew, there are zombies. Yes, there are. You see, in the Matthew version, there's a earthquake at the time frame when Jesus gives up his spirit. You know, when he cries out aloud. Now, of course, he cries, my God, why hast thou forsaken me in Matthew and Mark? But in the other versions, he either says, it is done, or into thy hands I commit myself. So he says something different in the other ones. None of the other gospels actually record an earthquake that happened at that time frame, which I think is very ironic because I think you would notice an earthquake if you was Mark, Luke, and John. But yet none of the other ones noticed a big earthquake happening at the time frame of Jesus giving up his spirit. Now, here's the thing about it. It wasn't like it was a minor earthquake that some people could have felt and other people missed. This had to be a major earthquake, very major. I'm not an earthquake specialist. I don't live in an earthquake zone, so I don't know exactly what they feel like to this magnitude. I experienced an earthquake in Puerto Rico one time. I felt the building shake. I felt the earthquake here in Atlanta one time. I felt the ground quake a little bit. But never have I experienced an earthquake to this magnitude. Let's look at how big this earthquake was according to Matthew. He said, and this is Matthew 27, verse 50 down to 53. He said, and when Jesus had cried out in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn into from the top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split. How large of an earthquake does it take to split rocks? How long? How big? I would imagine to split rocks, it's got to be at least up there in the 5, 6, 7, 8s, maybe a 9. I don't know, but that's big enough. It's split rocks. That means houses had to be damaged, buildings were damaged in order for an earthquake to be that strong. But no mentioning of this from Mark, Luke, and John. He said that the rocks split and the tombs broke open. You see, they put rocks in front of these tombs in order to prevent wild animals from going in there and eating the bodies, to prevent the smell and disease, and to prevent grave robbers. And the tombs broke open. The bodies, listen now, the bodies of the holy people who had died were risen to life. Undertaker, rising up. They came out of the tomb after Jesus' resurrection. They came out of the tomb. Your mind might be saying, well, they came and they ascended immediately. Nah. And went into the holy city and appeared to many people. The holy city being Jerusalem. So because understand, I've been to Israel several times, and the thing about when you go to Israel now is different. The city of Jerusalem is bigger now than it was back then. Where the graves were would have been on the outside of the city. They would not have been inside the city. So when you go there and you see where they have different graves, you're still in Jerusalem. But if you find the old walls, where the old walls were, you will see that they were outside the city. So they had to get up and walk, because it said they came out of the tombs and went into the city. They didn't raise up into heaven. They didn't go ascend. They went into the city, and many people, and appeared to many people. And they said the bodies raised to life. Didn't say regenerated, wasn't in the spirit. They raised up in life. Zombies. So the Bible has zombies in it. And there were many other differences that we talked about as far as who was there, who was at the grave. You know, was it Mary Magdalene, Salome, and Mary, mother of James? Or was it Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, mother of James, and the other women? Or was it just Mary alone? Depending upon the story, you got different versions as to who was there. Was Jesus, were the angels on the inside, the outside? Were there one angel? Were there two angels? Depending on which version of the story you're reading. Did Mary touch Jesus? Or did Mary and the other woman grab Jesus by the feet? Or when Mary saw Jesus, did Jesus say, hey, don't touch me yet, because I haven't ascended? Depending upon which version of the story you're reading. Did Peter go rushing over there by himself? Or did another apostle run with him and beat him to the grave? It depends on which version that you're reading. That the men initially did not believe Mary and what she said because she's a woman. And they literally say because she's a woman. Or did they believe her right off the bat? Depends on which version that you're reading. Did they go and meet Jesus in Galilee, or did they meet him in Bethany? Or did they stay right there? It depends on which version you're reading. So the story has many different conflicting things in it. And I know that most Christians are going to say the only thing that matters is the fact that Jesus rose. And if that's all that matters to you in your inerrant word of God, then I have a problem. But we also discuss all the different deities that have, I'm dying for the sin of my people, and I'm going to resurrect and then take their sins with me, and then so that they can be forgiven. We talked about the other people who did the same thing that predate Jesus as well. So to see the whole thing, it's on my YouTube channel, Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz, as well as my Facebook page, Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz. I appreciate you guys. Go and subscribe over to those channels. Greatly appreciate it. And always remember, there are zombies in the Bible. Therefore, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.